Hello. um, Finishing my peppermint patty. First things first. Mm, I'm not done with my tirade. My tirade, is it a tirade or a tirade? Tirade. Um, Car manufacturers slash engineers slash designers. I just don't really think that companies like General Motors, um, well, they're the worst offenders. They don't care. Okay, if you're a customer, if you're a General Motors customer, I guarantee they don't care about you. They care about the money that you give them for their crummy services and crummy products. Um, but it's like really sunny today in southeastern Pennsylvania. It is April 14th, 2023. It's about 10 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning. Opening bell, a couple minutes. It's going up to like 83 degrees, I think, today. It's April. It's not quite mid-April yet. 83 degrees. And that's not too far out of the ordinary, but we definitely have had milder winters, and this spring, I mean, it's going into the 80s in late March. Anyway, back to the car thing. The management of the driver experience is really important when you're designing a car. Super important. And one of those important things would be management of light hitting your face. Now, I have tinted windshield here, and that's okay. But this stupid visor comes down, so if the light's coming in on this side, I can pull it down and push it over so it blocks it out. Not entirely though, because it stops right here. It stops here, but leaves this open window space behind this to just come in and blind me. So I got to pull it over so it doesn't hit my eyes. How stupid is that? All you got to do, and this thing is way too bulky and heavy to do the job. You just need something opaque to block light. Everybody, my family says, "Oh, you're getting too emotional." Well, if you're paying nowadays, you're not going to pay less than $25,000-$30,000 for a new car, and that's like not this car. This car would go for anywhere from 45 to 55 nowadays. When you're putting out that much money, the experience that you have in using your possession that you just purchased, which is a car, one of the biggest purchases of your life, and a little thing like the visor. Okay, so back to the visor. Okay, so I can pull it over here, but it's not long enough to block the light that's coming in right here. Okay, you can see this light right here, and it hits me from the side and the eyes. Very uncomfortable, very distracting. It's so easy to fix, but okay, one step at a time. All right, so I pull this over here. I say, okay, so it doesn't do the work. So if the light's coming in at a certain angle, I've got to pull this right next to my eyes so it doesn't hit me, and the sun doesn't hit me in the eyes. Again, that's incredibly stupid. And it just means that they didn't try it when they built the car, because this is an easy fix, So I put it over here, right? But notice that it doesn't attach to anything. It's loose. Put it back in the front and it hooks up to a little hook there. Bring it over here and it doesn't attach to anything. So if I have it over here and I take a left-hand turn, this thing comes over and hits me in the head. That is just 1 billion, gazillion, quadrillion % unacceptable. And I'm sure that the president or CEO of Toyota doesn't have to deal with this thing just like flopping back and forth. Okay, while I'm driving the car too, by the way. While I'm driving the car, I've got to manage this fucking thing. God, put a little servo motor in here. Let me press a button. Let me have some preset settings. Preset a few settings, and just put a little tiny little servo motor. And this thing doesn't have to be this big. It can be this little thin thing, like that weighs nothing practically, but it has to be opaque, and it has have a very, there's plenty of materials. I've seen Mylar that can do the job. It doesn't have to be. It should be somewhat rigid, but it doesn't have to be completely rigid. This is rigid. You know, you're not. If I bent this, I'm gonna break it. But give me a break, man. Keep the sun out of my eyes. You can't do that for 50 grand? Give me a break. No, that's not in our template. That's not in our design. Yeah, well, put it in your design. That's what Tesla does. When Sandy Munro goes to Elon Musk and he says, you ought to do this and that, and it would make the car much better. He does it right away. Musk doesn't wait around, you know, to find out that his customers are pissed off at him. He's going to do something now about something you can see that should be better. Far be it from Toyota or General Motors to take something like that into account. I will say for Toyota, though, they figured out how to make a car last longer, and General Motors has never figured that out. Not when I was doing business with them anyway. They didn't care. Oh, your car broke down again? Okay, bring it in. It'll be another $1,000. Are you sure you don't own a boat, Mr. Byrne? Why would that be? Because it's time to bust out another 1,000, and that's usually what you say for a boat. That's what BOAT stands for. But at least in that case, I can expect it. With my car, when I put out all this money, and remember what the money represents. It represents a lot of work hours on my part. That I'm giving my life. I'm giving, you know, working at a job so I can purchase this product, and the product is, in General Motors' case, the product is shit. It's just, oh my God. If I was to tell you every story about General Motors and me, this would go on way too long, I know. But it's unbelievable how awful they just, on every level. You know, I had their credit card, and they were just voracious in coming after me. I was on time and made the minimum payment on time all the time. This goes back to before the internet, to when you had to mail your check in to the credit card company at least a week ahead of time, so you could be sure it's my responsibility that that check gets there on time. Okay, fine, put it in the mail, you know. And then they pulled some shit on me you wouldn't believe. You just wouldn't. Like, they stuck things on my credit card that I didn't order, and then it would show up on my porch, and I looked at the box, and the return address didn't tell me anything. There was no return address. Okay, do you think that they're trying to hide their identity? Yeah, I think so. And then I opened the box, and it doesn't indicate who the provider, who the vendor is. And I didn't know until a month later which credit card it went on. When I finally pull up the General Motors, go, there it is, a daily planner for the next year, the upcoming year, that I did not order. Ooh. That's stealing. That's white-collar stealing, and we're way too soft on that. People like Jamie Dimon, that guy should be in jail forever for what he's done. Sorry to be so negative and combative, but you know, it becomes when you get worn down by somebody like General Motors, and it was like they just looked at me as being a piece of garbage. But they took my money, and a lot of it too. A lot of it. Mother effers. Oh God, I hate that company. Anyway, so Toyota figured out the longevity problem and issue. Like General Motors, you were lucky to get those cars to 100,000 miles with the air conditioning still working. And it through the 90s and the 2000, well, the Saturn I owned, it was just a piece of garbage. Good Lord, what a piece of horrible car. It's like, you gotta be kidding. Who designed this damn thing? Anyway, it's really getting warm now. I gotta get the dog out. So, sorry if I ended your week. It's a Friday on a sour note. But those are things that, you know, the consumer needs to be aware of and take notice of. You know, General Motors, they got no ethics or morality at all. None. All they care about is getting into your pocket. There's nothing else that's important to them. Nothing. They'll lie. Mary Barras is just a total liar. You know, she's saying that they're number one. General Motors is number one electric vehicle producer manufacturer. We're the leader. Okay, they delivered 2 electric Hummers in the last quarter. 2! You liar, Mary. You just... Ugh. What a liar. Lying comes naturally to some people. Certainly comes naturally to her, and it came naturally to somebody that I used to know, and I'm glad I don't know him anymore. Anyway, I gotta get the dog out. I hope you guys have a good Friday and a good weekend. And try to be happy. You know, there's a guy in my building that I live with. He's a younger guy too, and he's always complaining and miserable about the, you know, management. They're doing this wrong and blah 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 blah. Every time I see him, I bump into him on the elevator. They're fixing the elevators, and he starts like trash talking the guys that are working on the elevators. And I finally told him, I said, "You are one miserable son of a bitch." You know that, and I get tired of listening to your misery. But you know, I'm surprised that you just let this stuff get to you as much as you do. And then he says, well, and he asked me, he said, how do I change that? I said, I'm not your psychiatrist. I'm not your psychologist. I can only tell you what's worked for me, and that's to make a conscious effort to be positive and with people, and to get a reaction from my positive behavior. You know, in other words, make somebody else smile or laugh or be happy. If you make somebody else do that, I guarantee you, you're not going to be... You're not going to be as miserable as me. But I'm not that miserable. I can enjoy life. It's just that, you know, when stuff is shoved up my nose that I don't have any control over, and when there's a lot of money involved, and, you know, the bad side of human nature presents itself, you got to deal with it. And soft pedaling it, soft handling it, not a good way to go. And I didn't soft handle General Motors, and man, I tell you what, we wrestled and fought over this one thing, this thing that they put on my credit card that I didn't order. We fought over that for a year, more than a year, because I stopped. I told them, I said, you know, you're a bunch of thieves, and I think I had like a $6,000 balance on the credit card, and I stopped paying them. And I said, you know, you're going to make good on this, and you committed fraud. It's really stealing what you did. So if you want to go to the wire with this, I'd be glad to, because I can prove my point. And I have all the facts and the truth and the details on my side. So they let me off the hook for the $6,000 at 25 cents on the dollar. However, that 25 cents on the dollar, or you know, the other part, the part that I didn't have to pay, I had to pay taxes on. So you want to keep that in mind. The government and businesses like General Motors and the banks, they're incest. They're incestuous. They're the same group. And they stroke each other all the time, and at your expense or at my expense. On that positive note, really, I hope you can just like put all that stuff aside and see the beauty in the world and the beauty in other people's faces when you make them laugh and smile. Peace.